Hey guys, good morning. It's the morning of day two, and I don't know where to start. There's so much to talk about. Kind of funny and neat. So today's journey is going to hopefully bring me to the Chambersburg, Pennsylvania area. Right now, it's probably about 22 miles. If I make it that far, we'll see where it takes me. I'm a little challenged because I know this road is going to go through some state parks with a lot of hills, so it's going to be a bit of a challenge. Going to be a little bit hotter today, and as hydrated as I was yesterday. If you saw my post, you know that I was not really purified as much as I'd like to be. So we're going to get the morning started right now. Hopefully go to a mini mart. Where I stayed last night was so hospitable. I'll tell you about that in a minute. Maybe even show you. Certainly not the Ritz-Carlton, but it wasn't an overpass either. Just took the coldest shower I've ever taken. But even that's kind of a funny story in talking about the goodness of people. So I think when you're walking between 8 and 10 hours a day, that takes a lot of focus and everything as it is already. I had no electricity last night, so I think my first stop today is going to be to stop at a mini mart, get a couple of waters in me, charge my phones. Hopefully there's a mini mart close by. Charge my phone and my electronics, and kind of journalize and recapture last night and yesterday on paper. So I talked to you already about a few things leading up to the early evening. When I left, so I went to Ruby Tuesdays to get some water and got a lot of nice people there that extended themselves to me. And a couple of things that took place was, who I consider a friend now, one of my son's baseball coaches, Greg. I hadn't heard from him in a while. And just checked in with him to make sure he was okay. And he's like, "Yeah, man, where you at?" And I told him, he's like, "I'll be down in an hour." So I guess he was looking to see me early in the day and didn't make it. And he came down, and he's like, "I got a couple things I'd like to give you." And I'm a pretty simple guy, and I know this is crooked. I apologize, guys. I'm just not that good at this here. So we had a glass of water and a soda, and he had to get back to his family. But he gave me two things, and they're both pretty awesome in both ways. First was a deck of cards, and he's like, "Look, if you get out there, you need to play solitaire, help yourself." And I envision it differently. Me and my son, we'll get up early some mornings and just play war, and it's a fun little game to play and kill some time. There's not much skill in it, but somehow in my mind, I envision if I'm out on this trip and meet a family and they have a little one that wants to play war, it'd be nice to kind of just pull out a deck of cards and play war with him. The other thing he gave me was pretty crazy. I never served in the military, but he kind of gave me something to say, "Hang on to this." I looked at it and said, I don't think I could take this. He said, no, you have to. And it comes into play later on. But what he gave me was, he gave me this medallion, this Department of Defense medallion by our Secretary of Defense, Gates, at the time. Greg had served in the military, so I appreciate his service and everybody else's service that's been out there. But I didn't really fully understand the coin. I thought I did. I thought I did when he gave it to me, because my knowledge of the coin basically says, I think there's different rankings, but when you go and give this to a dedicated soldier, somebody to serve our country, it carries a lot of weight with them. It's about respect and such, and they respond to it. So I didn't really fully understand that until later, and I'll explain that. So after I met Greg, I walked down to what I call the inner part of town, away from the strip shopping centers of Gettysburg, what are these little row homes. And in my mind, I said, let me head down there. I'm sure there's going to be some people out sitting on their porch, beautiful summer night, and I'd get to engage them and talk to them. And that didn't happen. As I realized as I was getting into the main square, that all of these people, they park behind their homes. Their property is behind just the Main Street facade. And that's where they all would have been out if they were out at all. So by that point, it was too late, and it was getting dark, and I wanted to get down to the square, because at the square was a picture of Abraham Lincoln, which I wanted to go ahead and take a photo of, which I did, and I sent. And then right around the corner from there is a bar restaurant called the Blue and Gray. I don't know, called Blue and Gray Tavern, Blue and Gray Bar and Pub. I don't know, anyway, the Blue and Gray. And I just know that the few times in my life I've come to Gettysburg, I usually stop in there to get something to eat. The food's great. And it's right in the center of the square. It's right in the corner of the square, but it's right in the center of town. So if there's going to be any activity, that's the place to go. So while I was there, this is where the night kind of gets kind of crazy and neat. So The first thing that I can say and ask for, I don't ask for a lot on these trips, is the best thing I've ever done was I created these little business cards for myself. They're at Staples, and it kind of talks about my Facebook page. My website has my name on there. But what's nice is I can talk to people and not be a stranger, hand them something, and ask them to follow me and tell them what I'm doing. It's a nice, warm introduction. The problem is I'm burning through these things like crazy, and they are at Staples. I can give you my password or passcode. I don't know where the next Staples is going to be, if I find one in Chambersburg and if I'll get there in time. But if there's anybody that says if there's anything I can do, please, if you know I'm coming to your town, I think you can print up 500 for $20 or something like that. If you can go print up 500 of these, let me know. I have to do an adjustment to this one. I want to put my website out there. The website's not on here, but I can modify that, and it's already waiting at Staples. I just have to. You can email me, and I give you my password and passcode. But I'm burning through these things pretty quick, so I know that this weekend I'm gonna have to find a Staples for sure, and hope I still have enough to get me through that. So I was able to pass these out, and I walked into the bar to get a water, and I was sitting right next to this, again, something about Gettysburg and these young guys that are all built with 0% body fat. And so I said, "Is he taking?" I said, "No." And I guess he's a regular at the how was that, Bruce? He's a regular at the place. Anyway, sort of talked with him a little bit, explained what I was doing, obviously very interested. I said, "Look, do you know anybody around here that might be crazy enough to, let me just crash on your couch and make them the first night of my story in my book?" And, I was half hinting that maybe, hey, if you got nothing going on, this is what we could do. And he's like, "No, I really don't. I'd love to be able to do it myself, but I don't." And a few minutes later, this other gentleman came in, another young guy talking about golf, and I kind of eavesdropped and got my way into the conversation of golfing. And his name was Sam. And apparently Sam was a bartender at the restaurant, and so he knew everybody, and his buddy told him what I was doing. So he grabbed one of my cards and he walked over with this older gentleman across the bar and passed it to him. And he said, "If anybody's going to know somebody, it's going to be that gentleman over there." So every town, every bar has their mayor, and I was able to meet the mayor of Gettysburg last night. So Sam came back and told me what was going on, and about a half hour later, Mr. Basil Crapster came over and started talking to me, and within minutes he led off with some really, I won't say bad. I love bad jokes, so they were actually, I laughed, and they weren't too offensive, but they weren't the most politically correct, so I won't say them here. But he was, oh, screw it, I will. Who do I care, right? So he came up to me and he said, "Gettysburg isn't the safest town in America. It's not quite what people think it is." And I said, "Really? It seems pretty quiet." He said, "Just 2 weeks ago, a little person got mugged right here on the square." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah, I can't believe somebody would stoop that low." So, and that led to two more jokes beyond that, where he then said, I hadn't seen him for a couple of weeks, so I asked him if he was laying low, and he got mad and punched me right in the kneecap. So, that was my first introduction to Basil Crapster. Fascinating, brilliant man, filled with knowledge. One of his great ancestors literally was a civilian doctor here in Gettysburg during the war. And again, understand when I said a civilian doctor, not a army or an enlisted doctor. This guy was thrown into, healing 2,800 men by no choice of his own, but yet stepped up and did it. And he was telling me some of the history. So as we talked and what I was doing, what I'm planning on doing, and we bonded a little bit. And he said, "Well, look, I got a place for you." He said, "I have a vacant apartment." He said, "There's no electricity, there's no heat." He goes, "There might be some cold water for you." He goes, "But I'll get you over there tonight." So it was a long day for me. I left my bag outside. I went outside to call some people, talk to my kids hopefully, and outside, a beautiful summer night, a lot of young people out there socializing, smoking cigarettes outside of the restaurant, and I just kind of kept waiting for Basil to appear so I can get on my way, but it didn't quite work out that way. Basil was just doing what he does best in his element, right? Having a beer and talking to folks. So I had to respect that and be polite. And eventually, Basil came out and we left. But before that, at one point, some of the young people, Sam was out there smoking a cigarette and started to engage me in what I'm doing. And I was telling him where my journey's taken me, and I had planned on going down through Missouri to hit Ferguson and talk about some racial tensions down there and meet some people, and out to Joplin, which was decimated by the hurricane several years ago. And he was telling me he was stationed down in Alabama for that same storm that went up and got Joplin, that same front. And while his base didn't get clipped, how the whole surrounding area did, and how power was down, and how detrimental it was to that part of the country. You couldn't imagine what it was like up in Joplin. But I asked him what he served. He was an E1 or E2 at the time in the Army. And as we were talking, I said, hey, do me a favor, let me ask you something. So I pulled out this coin I was given earlier, and again, I'm going to show it to you right here. I said, what does this mean to you? And I won't say he paused in complete awe, but he paused for a moment, looked at it, and he said, wow, that's this is about the highest you can get from the Secretary of Defense. He said, this means you knew somebody, and this counts for something, He said, I'll be honest with you. He said, your story is really powerful on its own, and I don't think you'll have any problem finding someone to help you out in any way, shape, or form, just telling your story. He said, but if you really need something and you really need to pull an ace out of your sleeve, he said, find somebody that served and show them this, and I guarantee he'll step up for you. So I didn't really understand how important this could be, but it may be. So anyway, let me show you a little bit about where I stayed last night. I'm going to hit the road early today. So here is kind of my Basil Crapster's apartment that he let me kind of crash on the floor, and I am not complaining in any way, so please nobody take it that way. I'm a really simple guy, and this was just perfect accommodations for me. I was surprised I was able to sleep so well. I think I was so exhausted, that's kind of why. I only sleep a few hours a night, but I even got in probably 5.5 last night, which is about 2.5 more than I normally do. So shower was cold as hell. Really was cold, and I know I got to pack up some dirty clothes here and get everything put away. But I'm going to hit the road early this morning, get myself charged up on my phones, take out my pen and paper and my phone, and start to write my first chapter and encapsulize everything I've told you here from yesterday. And again, I got about 25 hours ahead. Feet are pretty beat up after day one, but hopefully that'll ease up. I don't know why it would ease up, but hopefully it does. I think my shoulders are kind of back to feeling okay. And, go get some orders, get my vitamins in me, get what I need to get going, and hit the road. So I love you guys. Thank you for worrying about me. I got so many texts and calls worrying about if I'm sleeping outside or if I'm not. I'm going to be okay, guys. Do me a favor, honestly. If you know me, I'll find a way. Trust and believe. The simple fact is a lot of people aren't going to be offering up a bed at 5 o'clock in the afternoon or 7 o'clock at night. So, if at 10 o'clock at night or 10:30 at night, I still haven't found a place, don't give up on me. Don't get discouraged. That's when people will go, yeah, you know what? If you got to crash at 4 o'clock in the afternoon at someone's place, they're going to be entertaining you all night. If I'm going to be there at 10:30 at night, hey, there's the floor, knock your socks off, the shower's over there, see you in the morning kind of thing. I think that's what's going to happen more often than not. So I'm going to gear for that a little bit as well, which means I'll probably be doing some more walking in the evening hours. I'll get my reflectors out. But today we're going to try to hit the road early and get going. Let me close that. Kira, Grace, Landon, Luna, I love you guys. I'll see you soon, all right? And I'll be talking to you later this morning, and hopefully we make some plans to see each other this weekend. I'm still close enough to home that somebody can run you out and we can spend the day on Sunday together, okay, guys? So I love you, and thanks for listening, everybody. Take care.